Friday, October 18th, and it's almost Halloween. Remember. So we've got 6 games tonight, and so I went with a different format because you got to change up the formats here and there. And the reviews are going to be different every night because every game has a different feel. The previews, not so much. So let's go ahead and talk about at 7 o'clock Eastern. We'll get things started tonight, 4 o'clock Pacific. Colorado in against Florida. For Colorado, this is game 3 of a 6-game road trip. So this is a big road trip that will probably tell us a lot about where they're at. And so far, they look pretty good. They're 5-0-1 overall. They are first in the Central Division. Grubauer will be starting tonight for Colorado. Goals for per game. They're scoring 4 goals against. They're allowing 2.5 per game. So that's a 1.5 goal differential average. It's not bad. On the Florida side, they will play in Nashville tomorrow. So it's a quick turnaround for them. They are 2-2-2. They are 6th in the Atlantic Division. And Bobrovsky will be starting tonight. Bobrovsky looking to turn his numbers around. Goals for per game, 3.17. Goals against per game, 3.67. This looks a lot like last year. Last year, Florida could score. They just couldn't keep the puck out of their net. And this year, so far, they look like a team that can score and have trouble keeping the puck out of their net. Overall, I would be very surprised if Colorado can keep up this undefeated regulation streak much further. During this 6-game road trip, I would expect them to take their first regulation loss. Wouldn't be surprised if it was in Florida because, again, Bobrovsky, $10 million goaltender, he will start playing like it, and that goals against will come down. And they shouldn't have a problem getting up for tonight's game knowing that a early Stanley Cup contender, at least they look like one in Colorado, is on their way into town. Next up, Dallas is in against Pittsburgh, so it just gets worse. Dallas is this is game 3 of a 4-game road trip, and it's been a rather fruitless road trip for Dallas so far. They're 1-6-1, but they're 6th in the Central out of 7 because Minnesota's in the Central, and the Central looks kind of weak right now. And I know it's early, but it looks kind of weak right now. Khudobin will be starting for Dallas. Goals for per game, 1.88. I wouldn't be surprised if that comes down because Hudobin's in net. They don't give him any goal support. Goals against per game, 3.13 for the Dallas Stars. On the Pittsburgh side of things, this is game 2 of a 3-game homestand. They're 5-2. They're 2nd in the Metro Division. They look pretty darn solid right now. Murray will be the starter. Goals for per game is at 4. This is with like 4 or 5 really good forwards out of the lineup. Their goals for is still 4 per game. Goals against, 2.57. Their goal differential is almost the same as that of the Colorado Avalanche. And again, this is without some key players in the lineup. What it does is it allows Pittsburgh, when everybody's healthy, to maybe consider making trades to shore up their roster where they need it shored up. And we'll see. We'll see if one of these guys who's playing really well, while Malkin is out, has got his trade value up. And if Jim Rutherford looks at it when Malkin gets back and says, hey, we can probably use this guy as a trade chip right now because somebody in the NHL is going to want what he provides. So, this should be an interesting one in that I wouldn't be surprised if it's really lopsided. That being said, it's not that Dallas loses by much. They just lose all the time. That's basically the way this season has been working out so far. Rangers. The Rangers are in against Washington. So the last of the 7 o'clock Eastern starts. So it's going to be a busy night to start for me. This is the start or the end of a road trip for the Rangers. They start a 5-game homestand on Sunday against the Vancouver Canucks. They are 2-2, 7th in the Metro because they haven't played as many games as everybody else. They've played 4 games to the 8 that the Capitals have played. Lundqvist will be the starter for the Rangers. Goals for per game, 3.25. Goals against per game, 3.5. Their goals against is a little high. And we are getting close to asking the question, Capo Caco, is he actually going to stay in the NHL this year? or is he going to end up getting sent down? And it's a question with Hughes as well. And it's strange because they were supposed to be the two out of this draft class that were ready, and they're going to play in the NHL, and they're dynamic talents. And maybe they needed some more development time than we thought. On the Washington side, they start a 5-game road trip at Chicago on Sunday. So both of these teams are switching. This is their last game at home. Last game on the road for a while. 4-2-2 are the Capitals. They are third in the Metro. Holtby will be starting for them. Goals for per game, 3.25, and their goals against is exactly the same, 3.25 per game. So this is a key game for both teams, and it's an old rivalry as well. So it should be, of the 3 games starting at 7 o'clock Eastern, that should be your game that probably has the most hotly contested result. And if I was to pinball or try to pinpoint which one I think would be most likely to turn into a more physical encounter, the one with Tom Wilson that also happens to be a division rivalry would be the one. All right, moving along. Columbus, the Blue Jackets are in against the Blackhawks. This game starts at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. And for Columbus, no rest for the weary. They're at home versus the New York Islanders tomorrow. They have a 3-3 record. They are currently 5th in the Metro Division. And with a win tonight, things would look pretty good. And I would imagine, they haven't confirmed yet, but I would imagine Korpisalo plays tonight. They might go with Merzlikins because he hasn't played in a while. But Korpi's going to play a ton is my guess. Now, goals for per game, 2.33. Goals against per game, 3.33. So, they're 500, but when they lose, they tend to lose by more goals than when they win. They lose by more goals when they lose than there really isn't a non-awkward way to. No. If I carry the one denominator. All right. You guys know what I mean. So their wins are closer than their losses. Oh, that's better. Anyways, Chicago, game 4 of a 7-game homestand. And the results so far? Mixed. It's been a mixed bag for them. They are 1-2-1 on the season. 5th in the Central because, boy, they're in the same division as Dallas and Minnesota. Remember when the Central was like everybody was awesome? And we were talking about like all 7 teams could make the playoffs if we had a different format. Good times. Leonard's listed as likely for Chicago tonight. Goals for per game, 3. And goals against, 3.25 for the Chicago Blackhawks. So this is a big game for both teams. Chicago wants to, get a winning streak going. This will be 2 in a row if they can win this one tonight. And for Columbus, they want to move above 500 and not drop below it again. So those are your first 4 games. And now it is time for me to change boards. Detroit. Sorry, Detroit. For Wings fans, this has been a really kind of nasty start to the season. It might be better to have the really bad games at the start. And then when you win a couple of games, you'll be like, yeah, we won a couple games. That's nice. But in this case, they're in Edmonton against the Red Hot Oilers. That game starts at 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. And the next game that Detroit plays is at home on Tuesday against Vancouver. So they get a couple of days off to think things over. They're at 3-4, and they are 7th in the Atlantic Division. Goals for per game, 2.57. Goals against per game, 3.71. It has really fallen apart for Detroit, and quickly. Edmonton, 2-game road trip starts Sunday in Winnipeg. So they go to Winnipeg, then they go to Minnesota. They are 6-1. They're first in the Pacific Division. If you saw that coming, you're an Oilers fan. That's basically where it stands. Your hardcore Oiler fan who believes is the only person who would have said, yeah, we'll be first in the division a few weeks into the season. Goals for per game, 4. Even 4. Goals against per game, 2.71. So their goaltending's got better, their defense is better, and their offense, real deal. James Neal. It has been a tremendous start to the season for the Edmonton Oilers, and now they get a Detroit Red Wings team that's playing, its 3rd and 4 nights right now? Yeah, this could be a rough Friday night, and then they get a few days off, like I said, and then they play at home against Vancouver, who beat them handedly in Vancouver. But in their to their benefit, Vancouver will be pretty deep into a long, brutal road trip, and those East Coast swings for Vancouver very often end up being kind of sort of ugly for their overall standing. So Detroit has that working in their benefit. If they can win tonight, go to 4-4. They have a decent chance, I would think, on Tuesday against Vancouver. Again, against a team that should be tired from a long road trip and having home ice advantage. Last but not least, Carolina, the Hurricanes. They're in against Anaheim. So they played LA. Then they went north to San Jose. Now they came back south to Anaheim. It's game 3 of a 4-game road trip for them. They have a few days off before their next game, which I believe is against Columbus. They're 6-2. They're first in the Metro. And goals for per game, 3.38. Goals against per game, 2.63. So if you look at it, the goal differential has been higher for Edmonton than for Carolina. That's something that we wouldn't have expected before the season started. But now they're in against Anaheim, and the Ducks are off to a pretty good start. This is game 2 of a 3-game homestand for Anaheim, coming off of that confidence-building win over the Buffalo Sabres. They're 5-2. They're second in the Pacific behind Edmonton Oilers. Yeah, the Pacific is really not what we thought it would be early in the year, right? Goals for per game, it is a paltry 2.57. Anaheim is scoring at the same rate as Detroit. The difference is they're allowing 2 goals less. Exactly. 1.71 goals against per game, 3.71 for Detroit. So the difference here is Gibson, Miller. Did I mention Gibson? It's been an amazing run. I would imagine we'll have Gibson and Mrazek tonight. I would imagine in this one it'll probably be, I would think you rotate back to Smith off Koskinen, and here it will be Bernier. They haven't confirmed it yet, but it'll be Bernier because Howard played last night. This Carolina-Anaheim game, that should be the game of the night, but if you're on the East Coast and you look at that time and you go, I know it's Friday, but if I want to stay up that late, I'm going to go out and do something. I don't want to be sitting watching you know what? I totally understand it. However, on the West Coast, it's only 7 o'clock. There's still plenty of time to go to the club or go to the bar at 9:30 if you're old enough. Only if you're old enough. Don't go to. I don't have to show you ID because the hockey guy said I can just come in here. That's not how that works. Don't do it, kids. But yeah, all kidding aside, this should be the best game of the night. No offense to the Rangers and Washington and whatever carnage Tom Wilson might bring out, but I really think this should be high-flying, fast team versus a team that plays a weird trap where they're still allowing over 30 shots per game. But boy, does it ever look like the trap when they get the lead. So, an Anaheim team that seems to be playing very, very well early in the season and playing a playoff style of hockey early in the season as well, versus a team that is playing some fantastic hockey. This should be the game of the night. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happen upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. It means the world to me. I will talk to you again soon.